Chapter 17 just changed the entire narrative surrounding the Shinju, and actually shift the direction of the story tenfold. So first I want to say I appreciate everyone that came out to the stream. It was a lot of fun, considering the fact that we didn't really get any leaks this month. So when we did go live, I went in relatively blind. I don't know about you guys, but I went in blind. That was the first time I did that since like chapter 1. So it was kind of refreshing not being spoiled for once. If the opportunity presents itself, I definitely consider doing it again. So if you enjoy videos like this and wouldn't mind seeing more like it in the future, go ahead and drop a like and maybe subscribe. But anyway, let's hop into the video. So going into chapter 17, a lot of people thought Sarada, Konohamaru, along with the rest of the rescue crew, was going to go to battle with the Shinju in hopes of defeating them to retrieve the Thorn Soul bulbs. And although that is still the main goal, something unexpected emerged in the process. Konohamaru and the others attempted to earn the trust of the Shinju by lying to them, stating that they're searching for Boruto to make it seem like their goals align with each other's. It turns out, the Shinju are not necessarily evil, they're basically just acting off instinct. It's only the fact that they're ever-evolving divine trees that possess great power, which is why they're considered a great threat that must be dealt with in due time. But in all hindsight, Shikamaru said to think of them like wild beast cubs. Each of them have their own targets, so the first instinct that pops up into their heads when they see their targets is to attack them. They really don't know any better. So in short, if they can befriend them and gain their trust, they can get them to drop their guards, and hopefully enough for the shinobi to betray and eliminate them in one fell swoop. This theory of Shikamaru's got proven correct since upon seeing Konohamaru for the first time, Matsuri froze up in anxiousness. This is because she possesses romantic feelings for Konohamaru. We know these emotions she's feeling is romantic feelings, but Matsuri doesn't know what she's feeling at all. Not only does this mean the Shinju have a hard time perceiving any new emotion they're feeling, but this could mean they have inherited bits and pieces of their counterpart's personality, along with their appearance and abilities. This also brings upon the idea of manipulation. If it is possible for the Shinju to be befriended, even if it is for like a brief period of time, there can be a way for them to be manipulated. And yes, that even means Jura. And it mainly has to do with their lack of information regarding the world. This is why they're looking to devour their targets, so they can gain that extra level of awareness needed for them to understand more about them and what it means to possess human emotions and ideals. And this is why I'm slightly against Jura just going to bookstores and buying books for him to read. It's doing nothing but offering him valuable information he could use to accelerate his evolution and help him understand even more about himself and these emotions that the other Shinju are feeling. And this would end up making Jura way more powerful than he is now. But at the same time, even if I'm against it, there's nothing you could do here because they have no way of dealing with Jura, nor denying him the right to purchase books. So they'll just have to deal with it for now. All I'm saying is, the more knowledge Jura possesses, the harder it'll be to try and manipulate him along with the rest of the Shinju. But for the time being, this is actually big for Konoha, along with the rest of the shinobi world. Now that the Shinju can possibly be manipulated, there can be a lot of situations where you can have characters try and take advantage of that weakness. Characters like Code, or even Shikamaru, to bend the Shinju to their will. We already kind of see it happening in Shikamaru's case, as he was the one who even introduced this concept, but this could be something he'll try to do again in the future. And with Code, he would have more twisted ideas for the Shinju, having them help him find Boruto, or even have them help him destroy Boruto. That's just the type of person Code is. It wouldn't surprise me if he was still lurking from the shadows, just trying to gather intel that could help him find the hideout of Boruto and KASHIN Koji. And since the goals align, the Shinju would assist Code in his search, and since he can't kill both Koji and Boruto himself, getting assistance from maybe Ryu would be genius. So basically, this is all I mean when I say manipulation. Just using the Shinju to help with a task that originally would be too hard to accomplish on your own. Or in Shikamaru's case, manipulating the Shinju into treating Konoha as allies. Ryu did state that Jura had high respect for the shinobi, as well as held Konoha in high regard because of their culture, so I think there's a huge possibility of that happening. And this doesn't necessarily eliminate the threat of the Shinju because it's not like they can just be left alone. At the end of the day, there's still divine trees that threaten the very existence of mankind. Every single day they're here, the closer we get to the Earth's destruction. So the Shinju not being these tools of mass destruction creatures like we thought they was anymore, doesn't eliminate the urgency they need to treat this situation with, which I love. So that's why I don't really mind this new narrative that's being pushed regarding the Shinju. In fact, a lot of older theories regarding them could be reintroduced into the story. An example of this would be one revolving around Hidari. As I explained on stream, the reason Matsuri could be having some romantic feelings towards Konohamaru could in fact stem from Moegi and how she really feels about Konohamaru deep down. The thing that separates Moegi and Matsuri is that Moegi can recognize these feelings and choose to either show it or mask it. But Matsuri doesn't know what these emotions she's feeling is. It's literally her first time feeling like this. She doesn't know what to do about these feelings of love and anxiousness. So if Moegi's true feelings for Konohamaru is showing through Matsuri and affecting her overall personality, then perhaps the same can be said for the rest of the Shinju. Probably excluding Jura, because he's not a prototype of anyone, but for guys like Hidari, Ryu, and Mamushi, this could be the case. So if we go back to someone like Hidari, who's been the topic of discussion regarding suspicion since he was introduced into the story, there could be a point where he decides to question his loyalty to Jura. And of course this theory stems from Sasuke's overall character and how he went from an aspiring tyrant to a man of morals who fights for the sake of his family and the future of the Leaf. There's been many instances of Hidari questioning his identity and motives. It's like he really doesn't know whether what he's doing is right or wrong. All he knows is what first pops up into his head. I'll admit, I used to avidly believe in this theory, not thinking any further on the situation. But, of course, thinking a bit further, I realized the Shinju don't really act like their counterpart at all. Starting with Ryu, I originally thought that the way he speaks could be an indication of him picking up certain quirks and habits from Shinki, but it's really hard to believe because we all remember from part 1. The way Shinki speaks is rather proper and relatively reserved, compared to Ryu, who's more outspoken and more or less abbreviates everything he's saying, like slang talk. I told my chat that honestly we didn't really know how Shinki could act post time skip. Maybe the way he casually talks is slightly different from part 1, but I couldn't really back up this claim because there's absolutely nothing that I could use to support this way of thinking. And even when we see Shinki talk for a few pages, he didn't talk anything like Ryu. So this really makes no sense. What really could be going on here is the Shinju acting opposite or very different than their counterpart. Now this is way more consistent than me saying they share the same personalities of their counterparts. We can literally look at all of the Shinju and go over one by one why they act different than the original. So firstly, since we're on the topic, Ryu, the way he talks in comparison to Shinki, well-mannered and proper, versus Ryu who talks very vulgar and unrefined. There's also other qualities that set them apart as well, but that's just something I can name from off the top of my head. Now we of course can look at Hidari, who's very simple-minded and obtuse in comparison to Sasuke, who's literally one of the smartest and intelligent shinobi in the story. I mean, that's definitely the #1 most obvious difference in their characters, and I'm pretty sure like 90% of you already seen that very early on. Now, in comparison to Mamushi, I would say Bug is a little timid in comparison to Mamushi, who's more bold and eager to talk and attack. I'm just deducing this from how he acted around Code and Ada back then to how his Shinju clone acts around them now, and even talks to them. So when we look back at Matsuri and Moegi, maybe it's that Moegi doesn't have any romantic feelings towards Konohamaru at all. Now, me saying this doesn't mean I don't think she doesn't like him at all, because that's not it. Moegi does hold strong feelings towards Konohamaru. She cares for him deeply and is sort of protective over him. But this could be her just thinking of Konohamaru as more of a brother than anything, as I think this is most likely the case with her. So her Shinju clone actively inheriting romantic feelings towards Konohamaru wouldn't be out of the ordinary per se, especially since the Shinju clone is supposed to act somewhat differently than the original. To say complete opposite could be a stretch, but they definitely don't act the same as the original, and that's for sure. So the Shinju with these personality changes could offer the story more substance and could change the direction of the story in relation to how dangerous the Shinju really are. But the downside is, it could also bring upon some opportunities for the Shinju to be manipulated by other characters into doing someone else's bidding, or just simply behaving and not wreaking havoc across the ninja world. In other words, now they really have to destroy the Shinju before it's too late. And there's no telling what could happen if the mission to befriend and betray the Shinju goes wrong. They could potentially lose their trust in humans forever. And that would definitely make the situation 10 times worse than it already is. So anyway, let me know what you think is next for the Shinju. Is them being able to be befriended a good thing? Or do you think it's better they stay enemies? As for me, I'ma save my answer until everyone gives their 2 cents on it. But just to get y'all talking, I really don't have a problem with it, to be honest, because it doesn't change anything regarding how they have to treat the situation, as I explained earlier. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it in the future, go ahead and like the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified whenever I upload, or even go live to do chapter reviews or possibly look at spoilers. And until my next video, I'll see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.